Okay, so what we're going to talk about today is more solving equations. But today the focus is solving equations that have fractions in them. And of course, it's a lot easier to solve an equation if you don't have fractions. We're going to solve them whether they have one fraction or multiple fractions. And how we do this may depend on what the problem looks like. So I've got 4 problems today that I'm going to show you that have fractions in them, and we are going to get rid of our fractions. And then finishing the problem is easy. Alright? Here's the hint. Alright? We want to get rid of fractions because fractions make solving equations more difficult. To get rid of the fractions, alright, look at your fractions and multiply both sides of the equation by the least common denominator. Alright? That's the same thing that you're finding if you're trying to add fractions and you need a common denominator. What you're trying to figure out is what is the least common denominator. That's what we're finding. So this one is easy. We only have one fraction. So we are going to use 3. And what we are doing with it is multiplying both sides by the 3. Now here's the thing. In this expression I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 terms. Correct? Pardon me? I'm going to multiply the whole thing. So here's what happens. You got to put this side in parentheses because you've got a plus or a minus here. And we're going to multiply by 3. Put this side in parentheses. And we're going to multiply by a 3. We're going to do it on both sides. Now, to help you multiply this 3 times 2/3, this is 2, right? You can put a 1 under your 3 if it makes it easier, okay? So here's what I've got. I'm not going to cancel from here. That's bad. If we cancel, we just blew away the 3 that we need to multiply over here. We can't do that. You can cancel after you distribute. Cancel after you distribute. So here's what I'm going to do. I've got 3 times 2 is 6. On the bottom, 1 times 3 is 3. And that x. Distribute the 3 over here, and I get minus 3. Equals. Over here, distribute that 3, and I've got 3x plus 36. Now, notice something. It still looks like I have a fraction, but I don't. Because 6 divided by 3 is 2. So that's what we're going to do. Change it to a 2x.
When you distribute, do you skip a step where you, instead of just leave the fraction, you just divide it by 2?
Could you just do this and write a 2?
Yeah.
Yes, you can. And the better you get at this whole process, the less steps you will take to do it. That's what will happen. But if you need the steps, write the steps. Don't make mistakes because you need the steps and aren't writing them. Alright, so now the problem is easy. It's just like the ones we did yesterday. So let's go ahead. I can subtract 2x from both sides to get my x's together. I've got negative 3 equals x plus 36. Subtract 36 on both sides. And here's what I have. I've got negative 39 here and an x here because my 36 is canceled. X equals negative 39. Let's do another one. Now this one has 2 fractions. So this time we've got to find what is our lowest common denominator between a 5 and a 3.
15.
15. That's what we're going to multiply on both sides. Alright? 15. So over here you've got a plus or a minus. Put this in parentheses. We're going to multiply by 15. Over here, we only have the one thing, so you can just multiply by 15. Now, to make it easier on yourself, to multiply this by a fraction, go ahead if you want and put the 1 underneath, so you multiply the tops, multiply the bottoms. 15 times 6, I think that's 90. 1 times 5 is 5. Okay, remember, don't cancel this. If you cancel this, you're going to mess this up. This needs to be multiplied by 15. So don't cancel yet. I'm going to distribute it over to here, and this is going to give me 15x over 3. And I'll leave my calculator for this one. 39 times 15. So this is going to give me negative 585. Now, it looks like I have fractions, but I don't, because they're both going to simplify. 90 divided by 5 is 18. So I've got 18x. 15 divided by 3 is 5, so minus 5x equals negative 585. What's my next step?
Subtract. Add 5. Oh wait, doesn't add. Subtract.
Combine like terms.
Yeah.
They're on the same side. So 18 minus 5, you just do that subtraction, you've got 13x equals negative 585. Wow, I hope this divides.
Negative 45.
It's what?
Negative 45.
Negative 45. So x equals negative 45. All right, the next one looks a little different. All right? This looks different, right? Because there's a bunch of stuff in the numerator and one denominator. It looks different. This just had one thing in the numerator, one thing in the denominator. One thing in the numerator, one thing in the denominator. This has a whole expression in the numerator and the denominator. You're still going to use the same strategy. Since this is our only fraction, we're going to multiply both sides by 5. But how this looks is going to be a little bit different. So over here, take whatever's in your numerator and do this to it. Put it in parentheses. And I'm going to multiply by 5. Do the same thing over here. Here's what's different. Because this is in parentheses, it's really only one thing. So you don't need to distribute. You can do this. Take this 5 in the numerator, cancel it with this 5 in the denominator. And so all you have left is 3x minus 1 equals 35. Now let me show you something. If you go ahead and distribute that in the numerator, and remember it's 5 over 1, so it's only going to the numerator. Here's what you will have on the left hand side. You will have 15x minus 5 over 5. Fair enough? And then, no, you cannot cancel here. You cannot, because the laws of math don't allow you to cancel things that add or subtract. You have to make this two separate fractions. So this is 15x over 5 minus 5 over 5. This simplifies to 3x. 5 over 5 simplifies to 1. So keep in mind, if you're going to distribute this, you do have to split it up into two fractions. You can't go to here and cancel the 5s. Can't. Alright? That's why we can cancel things that multiply. We can't cancel things that add. Alright? So you can do it this way here. If you do it this way, you've got to do this step. So now, we have an easy problem. Add 1 to both sides. We've got 3x equals 36. Divide both sides by 3. We get x equals 12. Now, if you go to D, this is a whopper problem. I have 3 fractions, and I also have whole expressions in the numerator, just like I did in C. Alright, so first thing, I've got a 4, a 3, a 2 in the denominator. What is my lowest common denominator? 12. going to multiply both sides by 12. I have two things, 1, 2 on the left. I'm putting them in brackets, and I'm going to multiply by 12, and I'm going to make it 12 over 1. It makes my life easier. Over here, multiply by 12 over 1. Now, what I'm going to do here to distribute is make it look like this. I'm not going to distribute the 12 to the y and the 2 and the y and the negative 3. I'm going to distribute it to this numerator and this numerator, and the way it's going to look is like this. 12 in parentheses y plus 2 over 4 minus 12, and then in parentheses y minus 3 over 3. Over here, this is easy. I can cancel 2 goes into itself once and into 12 6 times, right? So I just have 6. Is that fair enough?
Yeah.
Okay, so you see how I wrote this? There is a reason why I'm doing this. It's to save you some steps and save some mistakes. First of all, I can now cancel. 4 goes into itself once and into 12 3 times. Remember, I can cancel things that are multiplied. These are multiplied. I can't cancel anything that's added or subtracted. Here, I can cancel because these things are multiplied. 3 goes into itself once and into 12 4 times. Now notice both my denominators are 1, which means my whole denominator can just drop off. So here's what I have left. 3 times y plus 2 minus 4 times y minus 3 equals 6. I have a problem with no fractions. All right, here's the biggest issue. This is easy to distribute. When you distribute here, bring that negative with it. So here I've got 3y plus 6, then minus 4y, and negative times negative gives me plus 12 equals 6. What's my next step? Combine my like terms. So 3y and negative 4y give me negative y. 6 and 12 give me plus 18 equals 6. This problem's just getting easier. So now subtract 18 on both sides. And the 18s cancel. I have negative y equals negative 12. What's my last step?
You have to divide negative 1.
Divide by negative 1 to get rid of that negative. All right, that gives me y equals 12. Now there's one last thing I want to go over on the very next page. It's really easy. This is a question. Is x equals 4 a solution for this equation? When you are asked a question like this, we're going to do the same thing that we do to check our solution to see if it's right. We're going to plug it in wherever there's an x and see if both sides are equal. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to put the 4 everywhere we have an x. So I've got 2 times 4. And then I've got 4 minus 4. And I've got 4 plus 3. Does that equal 0? So here we go. I've got 2 times 4. Doing my parentheses first. 4 minus 4 is 0, correct?
Yeah.
4 plus 3 is 7 equals 0. Go to the left. I have 0 as one of my factors here. So this whole side is 0, isn't it? Because if you multiply by 0, you get 0. So now I have 0 on both sides. That means, yes, this is a solution. Let's try it again, but we're going to check x equals 3. And we're going to see if that one works. All right, so let's go ahead. Whoops, let me make sure the problem's up there. Let's put 2 times 3, 3 minus 4, and 3 plus 3 equals 0. So I've got 2 times 3, 3 minus 4 is negative 1. 3 plus 3 is 6. All right, I can just multiply this. 2 times 3 is 6, times negative 1 is negative 6, times 6 is negative 36. I don't have the same number on both sides. All right, so this is not a solution.